Welcome to Man on a Mission, where we talk about having a positive mindset, which will help you improve your physical and mental health, your relationships, and your business and career. Men's health, which consists of having a healthy lifestyle, wealth management, getting that financial house in order, podcast, getting the message out, and most important, everyday life. I'm your host, Milton Craft. Let's get on this mission.
Hello everyone, this is your host Milton Craft. Welcome to the Man on a Mission podcast, where we talk about having a positive mindset, men's health, wealth management, podcast, and everyday life. So glad you're able to join me today for another great episode here at Man on a Mission. So today we're going to be talking about a subject that so many are familiar with. Our guest today is going to be talking about what she calls escaping the rat race. Yes, I said it. Escaping the rat race. The hustle and bustle of everyday life. So many people have gotten caught up in it and they don't know how to get out. So before I go any further, let me introduce our guest for today. She's a wife, mother, auntie, author, and content creator at Synolve Media, forger and intuitive herbalist at Unleash the Queen in You, founder of Black Exodus. She's also a communication and digital media director, marketing strategist, coach, and all-around wonderful person. Yes, our guest today is my wife, Synolve Craft. How you doing, Synolve?
I'm good, Milton. How are you? I'm glad to be here.
I am great. So, Synolve, the reason that we got you here today is I recently watched your video on YouTube, on your YouTube channel, talking about escaping the rat race. Now, the video was so enlightening. It shared so many great things about so many things that people are dealing with here in America that gets them caught up in what you call the rat race. You know, how they can't get their work-life balance together. No matter how hard they work, they'll never get ahead. Some people are being overlooked and overviewed and undervalued. Let me stop. I don't go too far because I don't want to let you get away with what you're going to talk about today. So I thought I'd bring you on to discuss this a little bit more.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
So in case anyone wants to check out Synolve, be sure to go to YouTube and look for Synolve and check out this great video on escaping the rat race. And I'll also leave a description and link to the video below in the description box. All right, so I guess today Synolve is going to briefly explain to us what it means when she says escaping the rat race. Take a minute. Escaping the rat race. So now, what does that really mean when you say escaping the rat race?
Milton, I'm so glad you asked. One of the first things we have to do is to define the rat race. And so I went out to look for this definition, and I was surprised that there was actually a definition for the rat race.
Wow.
The rat race is an endless, self-defeating, or pointless pursuit. The phrase equates humans to rats attempting to earn a reward such as cheese.
Wow.
All in vain. It also, and I was surprised about this, it also gave this definition of people living an unpleasant life where they have to work in jobs that require them to work extremely hard just to be able to keep their heads above water and to compete with others for money, power, status, all that stuff.
That's so true. So true. Yeah, that is so true. That sounds like the typical rat race that we're running here in this country, where you gotta try to please everybody else and you don't get anything out of it. You're always the person, like you said, chasing the cheese but never being able to catch the cheese. It's like a continual cycle of I try, but I can never seem to get ahead.
Absolutely. This is, as you say, the American system. This is the system of the West. And especially in America, I think we don't realize how much other countries work to live. But in America, we work to work. And the more we work, the more we find our value and really feel like we're actually contributing something to society. And we're taught this from children. We're put into the system and we're taught this. And so we have to really realize that we can choose differently. We can choose better. And there is a movement going on.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's a movement that's going on. It's called the Black Exodus movement,
Okay.
or Blaxit, where people are deciding not only do they want to not only just quit their jobs, because they're, of course we know there's the great resignation that's happening where people are just quitting.
Yeah.
They're fed up with corporate America, fed up with this corporate system, and they're just leaving.
I think that's been happening for the last few years.
Absolutely.
More and more people are getting tired of this system and trying to find new ways to have a better life where they're not overstressed and overworked.
And so, as part of that, there's also this Blaxit movement, where what I call the Black Exodus movement, where people are deciding that they are going to leave the U.S. altogether.
Wow.
And it's currently the book that I'm writing now, Black Exodus. And so people are choosing to go to live in other countries, and where they can find a country that works for them.
And a lot of this, like you said, is triggered because of the work environment that people have to deal with on a daily basis, where they're not happy, they're overworked, they're stressed, undervalued, and that causes a lot of physical, mental, and emotional harm on people who are just trying to make an honest living to provide for their families. And sometimes you have to take an exodus just to get out of that situation, so that you can better yourself and better your family.
Absolutely. People are looking for they're looking for so many different things, from a better quality of life, greater happiness, something that I call black joy.
Black joy. That sounds good.
They are just looking for ways to live a fulfilling life and to not have to work their lives away, but to really live a life that is best for them.
Exactly. And like you said, a lot of people I've seen with a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people just in general, they're going to different countries. They're trying to find countries from where they originated, and places where they can really just buckle down and put their roots down and have a good life without all of the stress of what they're doing here. So one of the things that you say, your biggest philosophy is, you go where you're celebrated and not just where you're tolerated. Wow, that is so awesome. Tell me a little bit about where you got that from and what that really means to you.
Right. Well, I grew up hearing that all my life in the black church. I mean, I heard that so much, and it was something my grandmother said. It was, something the women in my family and men in my family talked about. Go where you're celebrated, not where you are just tolerated. And so that was something that was deeply embedded into my psyche from a small child. And so I believe that we can craft the life that we desire.
Exactly.
That we can choose the life that we really, really want, we really desire, and that the choice is ours, and we should have that freedom. And if it's not given to us, then we have to use a little bit of Malcolm's theory and do it by any means necessary to make the choices that are right for ourselves and for our family.
Go where we're celebrated. Exactly.
Right.
That is so good. So as I watched your video, you said that there were 7 things that you attributed to the rat race. 7 things that you thought were essential and fundamental when it comes to defining and making a clear picture of what this rat race really looks like. So we're going to kind of dive into those a little bit, you and I, so we can help people to understand what that really looks like, so they can compare it to their lives and maybe can see what they need to do, what they're caught up in, and how they can make changes. So let's talk about that a little bit.
I'm ready.
So number 1, you said long work hours and work commitments and full-time work. That employers have the right to work you as long as they want to. Wow. That's even hard to read. So tell me a little bit about where you got that from.
Well, it's all in this other duties as assigned.
Okay.
And
and that's really in any standard contract today, other duties as assigned, but we really don't pay any attention to it. Just flow right with it.
Right. And so if you are an hourly worker, there are times when you may work, of course, your standard 8 hours, but you may also have to work 10, 12, 14, 16, sometimes even 18 hours.
Wow.
And so you get into these long work hours before you know it, and it's just understood that you either gonna work or you gonna go home permanently. So
and that's so true, because once people get you to work, they act like you need to stay there until they say you can go home, and that's really sad because you're thinking you're coming in and do a certain work shift, a set of hours, but once you get there, it can totally change. And out of fear, out of not wanting to cause problems, people just lay down and just abide by it.
Right, they do, because what else are you going to do? They tell you the choice is yours, but what's the choice? To stay there and do the work, or to leave and be homeless. I mean, so like really there's, a whole choice.
Wow.
And I was thinking about, I think it was a candle factory, not too long ago during a storm.
Mm-hmm.
They told the employees.
It was during a tornado.
Right.
Yeah.
You remember where that was, but.
I would say Indiana, but I may be wrong. But yeah, it was during a tornado.
And they told them not to leave. If they left during the storm, that they would be fired. And so they stayed, and many of them lost their lives.
Wow.
This is the seriousness of the work environment that we are in, and the toxic environment that we're in, this hustle culture. But we just don't take it as seriously. And so if you're full-time, then you have another issue, which is, well, then they can work you as long as they want to.
And they will.
Because they pay you the salary, and it's explained to you there are no set hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that means to get a project done or to complete a task, you may take work home with you.
Wow.
You may stay late into the evening with the office. So it's this 8-hour day, and this whole 8-hour day where you are working. Some people don't even take their 15-minute breaks.
Wow.
They barely take a lunch, and it's a bit much. It's toxic.
Yeah, that's a very toxic work environment, and people are just being overworked and overused and undervalued, and it shows up in their physical, mental, and well-being. So the second thing you talked about was lack of quality time to spend with your family, spouse, children, loved ones, friends, and significant others. Lack of quality time.
Right. We sometimes spend more time at work than we do with our family. And so people joke that they see their co-workers more than they see their own family and children.
That's their second family, right? What they call it, their work family.
Oh, no. Yeah. I know, right?
I've even heard people on TV say, my work wife, my work husband. I'm like, wait a minute. That even sounds crazy just to say that.
Right. And so we have things like Friendsgiving, and all that is great to have, friends, and we have these Thanksgiving celebrations at work, and we're so excited about them. But then the employer really could give you off that time off for your Christmas party or your Thanksgiving party to go home and spend with your family, but that's not really an option to really get the things done that you need to get done. But that's not an option, so there's just no time. You spend your time doing things like like working, and so it's the whole 8-hour day. It's your whole day, and you barely get any sunlight. You barely see the sunlight, and then you're doing this rush thing with your kids. If you have children, hopefully you see them for like an hour in the morning, and that's
no time.
No time, and maybe 2 hours at night. But the rest of the time they're at school, you're at work, and you're in the morning, you're trying to get them to brush their teeth, you're trying to get them to wash behind their ears, put on clothes, hopefully socks, even if they're not matching, and get them out the door. And then, so
that's no quality time at all.
It's none. And then you come home in the evening. I think sometimes you spend more time talking to them in the car line back and, on the way back and forth to school than you do anything else. And then spouses are just two ships passing in the night. They're just, did you pick up dinner? Did you get the kids to a soccer practice? It's just a constant thing. And so we just don't get the quality time. And then we wonder why in the West the divorce rate is what it is.
Yeah, that's why so many families are having such a hard time, because like you said, you don't spend time together. I mean, like you said, you only see each other, 2 hours out of a day? But you see this work family 10 or 12 hours out of the day. So that's not right. That balance is totally off. That work-life balance is totally off. It's not fair to the spouses. It's not fair to the kids. But the employer doesn't seem to care, like you said. I mean, we have a holiday party. Why? Why can't I just go home and celebrate with my family? Why do I need to be here? I've seen you 20 hours a day. I don't need to stay with you another 5 or 6 hours. Now, nothing against holiday parties. But I think when it comes to the point where it's just taking up too much of my time, being away from my family or my friends, I think something needs to be readjusted, and I think it will start with the person. Don't allow them to do you like that.
Yeah, it is happening. There's a reckoning that's happening in American society, in the workplace, where people are just leaving. They're saying to employers, I'd rather work from home. I'd rather be digital and work from home than come to the office. Because you think about it, you're losing time that you could be spending time with your family within your commute. So it's the getting up and getting ready to go to work. It's the commute back and forth. It's all of that. And then if you get an hour lunch break, you're trying to run errands, get this for the kids, or go drop off the kid, they called you sick, saying your kids are sick, so you're using your hour
You gotta go see
lunch to go pick up Tylenol or whatever the kid needs, and
take a change of clothes to school or anything.
Yeah, they forgot their gym clothes, whatever the case may be, and there you are.
Wow.
Time is gone.
Time is gone. All right, the next thing you said was number 3. No personal freedom or freedom to choose to do the things they love when they want to do them or need to do them, like traveling, like getting real sleep. They have control over your time, your sick leave, your vacation leave, and everything that you do must be approved by your supervisor. Some people will take days off to schedule their appointments, but while they're at those appointments, they'll get a phone call saying, hey, I need a file, I need this, I need that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Wow, I see you really took good notes.
Hey, I learned from the best.
It is what it is. I mean, you just don't have the personal freedom. Okay, so you don't have the time.
You don't have
You're
time.
already working long work hours, and now you don't even have the personal freedom over your own time. You have to request vacation.
Your own time.
Your own time that you earn. You have to tell them and bring in a note from the doctor about your own sick time.
Notes like you're in school or something.
There you go. And then, push come to shove, if you have to have some type of surgery and it's going to put you out for 6 weeks, do you know the amount of paperwork that has to be turned in? And it's just a whole thing. And then maybe if your boss is nice, they're sending you flowers or some other thing. But
I doubt it.
But what worked you to the point that led to you being sick?
Wow.
And we don't ever think about that. We're sitting in our desk for long periods of time, and then we just don't have any control over our own time to make a choice. Well, I need to be off, on a certain day, and it's like, oh, well, that's our company inventory, so you can't take off then.
Wow.
You need to, you need to wait the next week. And so it's just very inconvenient. And so then you're accruing time. So sometimes you don't even get your time or your week vacation or 2 weeks up front. You have to accrue it. So you're accruing 1/4 or 3.5 of fifths of an hour. It's just crazy.
It's crazy.
It's really crazy the way that it's done. And you just don't have the personal freedom of choice.
I remember when I was working for a company and my appendix burst. And I was off, I think, 3 to 4 weeks because I had a bad rupture and it kind of got in my system. But the thing that I remember from the job side was they would call to check on me. Now, I'll give them that. But it would always end with, when he come back to work. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm sick. I'm at home. My appendix burst. I'm trying to get well.
It was infected?
It was infected, and I was really sick. And the last statement of every conversation was, when are you coming back to work? And like you said, there's no freedom. You have no freedom whatsoever. You can't even be sick without them calling you to ask you to come back to work or to do something. I mean, that's just very toxic. And it's part of this rat race culture that they want to control everything that you do.
Everything that you do, even now with the pandemic that's going on, it's the same thing. You're told, at first it was 14 days to quarantine. Now they've lessened it. Then it went to 7 days, and now it's 5 days.
5 days now, isn't it?
Right. So now we'll
get you back to work.
To 3. Now, I mean, right. They'll get you back to work in a minute.
Pat you on the hand. You okay? Go back to work.
So you don't have any personal freedom to choose to do the things that you love, like travel when you want to travel, rest when you want to rest, take a break when you want to take a break. It's all around someone else telling you when, how long, how much, how far. Right, you can go, but you got to stay close, stay in the country.
And be back
just
by
in
this
case
time,
we need
this date. Yeah, be reachable,
be reachable,
be accessible, so we can always get you at any time. So like, what's the point on going on vacation if I got to hear from you all day long?
Remember when people used to have beepers?
I do remember beepers.
And they would beep you,
and
huh?
they beep you, and like, well, I gave my beeper number, but I didn't mean for you to beep me all day long. Yeah, yeah. All right, so the next one you talked about, number 4, is the inability to get the cheese. And the cheese here, we're talking about the accolades, the promotions, the titles, the positions, the clout, the ability to grow in the company. Now, you compared it to Adam and Eve. They were given a garden. Now, humans have turned the earth, you said, into a factory where most people produce in order to create value and wealth in the system. So kind of give us what you mean by the Adam and Eve comparison to the work factory.
Right, and now that you say that, and you bring this up, there are 2 types of cheese. There's
goat cheese and liver cheese.
Right, there's the accolades, the clout, and then we're going to talk about another type of cheese in number 5. But one of the things when I was really thinking about the inability to get the cheese in terms of promotion and position, I thought about Adam and Eve. And so Adam and Eve were given a garden. They were given a garden. And so they were given, told to be caretakers over this garden. And so now humans have turned this beautiful garden into a factory where people must work to produce in order to create value or wealth in this system. And so, but Adam and Eve had a lot of personal time, personal freedom. They could name the animals.
Enjoy what they had.
Right. They could use creativity. And now the earth looks like, it looks like these people factories. So you have these huge, tall apartment buildings. They're people factories. We live in a concrete jungle.
What's the show that goes to Ticky Tacky?
Right.
Everybody's made the same, have to do the same. The Ticky Tacky people, they all come from the box or something. So yeah, everything looks so just alike with all these work systems and work environments that it's just you can just predict what's coming up next. Everywhere you go down the street, there's a factory. Go down the street, there's a warehouse. There's a warehouse. And they're going to do the same thing. Hire people and work them like a dog.
There you go. And so we don't give people within factories and within this system that has been built, we don't give people the value, the clout, the promotion, the accolades that they deserve. You don't get those things. And it's very, it's very, very sad that we continue to do this. But it's easily changeable. When I grew up in Mississippi, and I know you grew up in the South as well, Milton, and one of the things, the earth, when growing up, looked like a garden.
It did.
You could just walk down the street and there would be figs or apple trees, pear trees, blackberries,
honeysuckles,
all kinds of things. Oh, I love a honeysuckle.
You love honeysuckles.
I do. Yeah. And so it looked like a garden, but now we've mowed, plowed, pushed, pulled everything down, all the trees down, poured down concrete, and it looks nothing, the earth looks nothing like the garden that the Creator intended it to be.
Exactly. We have totally destroyed what was put here for us to enjoy. We dug up all the trees, cut all the grass out of the yards, harmed the ecosystem, and it just does not look like a garden, like you said. And some people just don't seem to see that that's a problem. It's mainly, for me, it's on the West Coast where you see dust. Here in the South, we still try to maintain that little garden look where you got your yards, you got your fields, and you kind of let things just grow wild like they're supposed to do. But factories and things like that are really taking over, killing and hurting the ecosystem and the environment.
Absolutely. And we have to really think about what we're doing to the environment and what we're doing to ourselves, because when people have the opportunity to just walk down the street and just grab an apple or grab fruit off of the trees, that's living, and it stops hunger. And so there's so many things that we've done to force people now to have to go into a work stay within this system that they have been, that's been created, and we just don't realize just how toxic that is.
And like you said, we were talking about the inability to get the cheese. You can work, do, but in the end, you don't get the promotion, you don't get the bonus, you don't get the merit increases, you don't get the ability to advance within the company. You just work, like you would say, as a worker bee, and you never get the reward that you've earned and do. So what do? Do you continue to keep doing this, or do you try to find some kind of exit strategy to do what's best for you? Because it's clear that you will never get the cheese where you are.
And this is why I love what you do on your channel, where you talk about mindset, because you have to really work on your mindset and then devise a plan to grow your own business, start your own business, and those are really going to be your ways around, your workarounds to combat some of this and to choose a different life for yourself.
I agree. So number 5, which it really resonated with me, and I'm going to talk about this on my channel next week. It is the inability to build wealth, prosperity, financial freedom, and independence. You work hard for the money, but workers rarely get the money that they deserve. Instead, you're just struggling to get by. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I can hear Donna Summer whenever you work hard for the
Donna
money.
said you work hard for that money.
You work hard for it, honey. I mean, you just work, but you never get it right. You just struggle.
Working.
Right, you struggle. It's more cheese, right? I should have named this more cheese.
More cheese.
Right, more about cheese, but you don't get the cheese.
You don't get it.
And so you might get a raise, like 30 cents.
30 whole
or
cents.
50
Woo-hoo-hoo.
cents. I don't know
you
what
can't buy a candy bar with 30 cents, can you?
No, you really can't.
It used to be nickel and penny bubble gum. You be
no
chewing.
more penny candy.
No more penny candy, is it?
And so you just, you have something in America that's called the working poor.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't even know why that exists, or how this can
That's
exist.
really sad because, you got families that work 1, 2, 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And there's something totally wrong with that structure where you have to work that much just to pay your bills. The question comes down to, why are people not being paid a livable wage? You know what it costs to own a house. You know what it costs just to rent an apartment or to rent a house. And if I can't make enough money to do that, I'm going to fall into the category of the working poor. That doesn't mean I'm a bad person. That doesn't mean I'm not trying my best. It means that the system is set up in a way that I cannot get ahead. I can never get the cheese. I'm always trying to get the cheese.
Right. Why must I? What must I? Why must I?
Yeah.
Chase the cheese.
Chase the cheese.
and it's, it's something when you're talking about livable wage.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you saying you studied that when you were MBA.
Yeah, one of the classes that we talked about in our MBA program was about the livable wages and the American economic system and how that plays a part in how people succeed. And if you're not making, I don't care who you are, if you're not making a livable wage, it makes life that much harder. Mm-hmm. Because you don't have a place to stay. You don't have food to eat. You don't have running water. You don't have lights. You don't have the basic necessities just to survive. I'm not talking about luxuries. I'm talking about basic necessities, just the bare minimum, just to survive each and every day. And if you don't have that, we are all considered to be the working poor. And that's just not acceptable anymore, because people should not have to sacrifice and kill themselves, overwork themselves, lose themselves, just to make ends meet. Something is wrong with that picture. I mean, you can never build wealth out of nothing. You can't be prosperous out of nothing. You can't have financial freedom or independence out of nothing. So we need to change the structure so people can have something that they can bring to the table to help benefit them in the long run.
Right. You just can't work every day, work all of these hours, and then have to sleep in your car or have to sleep in someone's living room or on the floor. Mm-hmm. It's really sad that we don't value humans and that we put people in these we put people in these situations where we treat them like mice, we treat them like rats.
Wow.
It's very, very sad when we don't value human life as much as we should. And people don't have health insurance, workers don't have health insurance, not getting fair pay, don't have a decent place to live, a stable car, or stable employment without being, without having any fear of being fired or any reprisal for speaking up. But, you have, or any protections from negative Nancy's or Brunhilde Bob's.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that really, when you talk about this wealth and finance, it just stays on my mind is, it seems like in this country, we know that the top 1% are wealthy. But it seems like it doesn't matter if anybody else is wealthy, or if anybody else is able to do well, if anybody else is able to hold their heads up above water. Something is wrong with that. If you can't make enough to live, how are you going to make enough to save, to invest, to grow, to become financially independent? There's no way to do it unless somebody just gives you a lump of money and says, hey, here, you can have this and go invest it. Let me help you invest it. But how often does that happen?
Right.
Not too often.
Not too often.
So this wealth and prosperity piece of the rat race, I mean, it's really troubling, because you can just look now with the unemployment rates. You can look at the homeless rates, and you can see that something is totally wrong. But everybody wants to get on TV every day and say, things are getting better in this country. Things are looking up. For who?
Right.
They're not looking up for the people that I see every day. Maybe somebody that they see every day, but there's something wrong with the way the system is set up.
Stuff is just not trickling down fast enough.
It's not trickling down.
Right. And, we grew up during trickle-down economics, and we see how well
trickle-down economics,
that did not work.
That didn't do too well. Only a few people, it didn't trickle down and stayed there. So
it trickled, but by the time you got down
to the bottom,
it was just a drip, right? Drip.
A drip.
And so we, have created this situation where people are just not able to make it. They're just not able to make it. And so Dr. King talked about something that was, a reporter asked him a question. And so I think it was Mike Wallace. And so Dr. King was talking about bootstrapping. He said, we have this thing called, today we're talking about bootstrapping and people pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. But it's unfair, he said, to ask a black person to pull themselves up by their bootstraps when they have no boots.
Wow.
Right? It's one thing they have no boots, and they have no boot laces. They have no straps to pull themselves up with. And so we keep doing this thing in America where we leave workers and we leave our everyday people, our own people, in a situation where it's tough to pull yourself up. When a person comes and they say, well, I didn't have anything when I started. All I had was a measly $1 million or $2 million.
A whole $1 million. Wow.
$3 million.
I could live for a long time with that.
That, my parent gave me, and then
they only gave me $2 million.
Right, my father gave me, and then that's all they had. But then they had connections, right? They had opportunity. They could walk in a bank where their dad had or family had multiple $1 million, and they could walk in and they could put that money in, but they knew the system. And so that's also relationships, networking. There are a lot of things that they picked up and learned. So we have to be very strategic in what we do and creating a different world, a better place. And I say, go where you're treated best. I say go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. If you can't, if this society or this place isn't giving you all the things that you need, there will come a time where there's a reckoning, and and it's happening now. It's beginning now, where the Great Resignation, where people are walking away, Black Exodus, where people are leaving. And so you just have to decide for yourself what's best for you and for your family.
Exactly. We've seen that so often where people are not treated fairly. They're mistreated. There was just a story on the other day where this lady had just become a doctor. She got a $16,000 signing bonus. So she was so happy. She wanted to deposit it in the bank. So she went to the bank, and the bank just said that she was fraud. It wasn't her check. She's lying, da-da-da, da-da-da. She was a person of color. So it's just like you're just not treated fairly. Like you said, sometimes you have to go to places where you are celebrated. All right, so number 6, you talk about psychological games from Negative Nancy's and Broomhilda Bob's. That's where they're dangling all these promotions in front of you and writing you up at the same time on your annual review. It's like the carrot tells you, in order to get the carrot, go get the degree, go do A, B, C, D, F, G, and you'll get the reward. But we know that that's not true.
Right. I came up with this because I had a situation when I worked as a medical writer for a medical device company where I was told that if I just went back to school and got my master's degree that I could get a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I enrolled in school. I was like, okay, well, I can do that. I can get my master's. I had a bachelor's degree in professional in English with a concentration in professional and technical writing. So I was like, so they stipulated you have to get a degree that's within your field. So, okay, I was in medical writing, so I found a degree in scientific writing. And so this is perfect. Submitted the paperwork, submitted it to my boss because I needed HR to know that I'm on this path of getting my education like I was told, and that would put me on the path to getting raises and promotions.
You were following the things to do in order to get the cheese.
Right.
You were doing what you were told to get the cheese. This is what I need to do, A, B, C, D.
Right. And so the trap was my boss would not sign my paperwork. So I would check back every week and she wouldn't sign it. I would check back every week. And so finally I said, well, because you don't have any personal control over your time or over anything. So I had, you work in a corporate environment. I had to schedule a time to talk with my boss. So I scheduled a time and I asked her, well, I see that you haven't signed my paperwork, and I was being all professional and stuff. And she said, well, I just don't think that you need that. I don't think that that's something that you need or, something that you really need to do.
That's a strong thing to say.
It is.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to say. I was flabbergasted.
I would have been
really
too.
Didn't know. I just kind of stared like her.
Yeah.
At her like I was, dumb or something. I mean, I just could not fathom. I couldn't understand.
You talking to me?
Right. You talking to me. But you told me I'm doing just what I'm told.
You did A, B, C, and D to get the cheese.
Trying to get this carrot. Trying to get this cheese.
Trying to get the cheese.
Right. You dangling in front of me, and I'm reaching. I'm so close. So I called corporate, and that put me and reported it, or just really was trying to ask for advice.
Yeah.
It ended up that I had to fill out a complaint and go through the process. Because she still refused. They gave me all these different things to go back, talk to your boss, go back and do. Tried that again, that didn't work. And they were like, well, let's give it some more time. And I had to file the complaint.
And you're the one suffering all while this is going on.
Right, because school was expensive. I went to the program at Seton Hall, which is in New Jersey, which is quite expensive.
Very.
And that it included me also having to do flights back and forth every so often to take different classes on campus, and which were mostly held on the weekend, but also there would be times when I'd have to miss work, so you'd have to approve all of that.
That's that work-life balance again.
Right.
Cutting off your freedom from being home.
Right. I mean, it was a lot to entail and to think about. I had to talk to you about it and say, hey, can we do this? And what that would mean with your work schedule it was a lot, but it was
worth trying to get the cheese.
Worth it, right? So that put me in a position where I was on the chopping block to be fired, because from that moment forward, my relationship with my boss or her relationship with me changed. It actually changed the moment that I submitted the paperwork for the education. I mean, for my education component to be approved.
So the retaliation process started as soon as you stood up for yourself.
As soon as
you said no.
Right.
We're going to do the right thing.
Right.
The retaliation process was initiated.
Began. As soon as I reached my hand out to take the carrot, that's when it began to even move forward to get closer.
Yeah.
So I, it was very difficult and it was very depressing at the time. And so I went through a lot of different, mentally just trying to stay in this mode, trying to keep my head afloat, trying to please her, trying to be a people pleaser, trying to please the department, trying to really excel, using all my black excellence. And,
Black excellence.
that's...
So that's, again, giving up who you are to be accepted in the environment in which you work. You're losing yourself to fit into something that they want you to be. And that's just a total... You shouldn't have to do that, because you shouldn't have to lose who you are just to make somebody else happy. And I think it goes back again, mindset. You have to have a positive mindset, not only in work, but in life and for yourself. Because if you don't, you can be conformed and made into anything that people want you to be. You're almost like a puppet on a string. Mm-hmm. And the cheese will continue to dangle in front of that puppet, and that puppet will never, ever, ever get that cheese.
Right, the puppet master is always
in charge.
And so I was doing everything I could, staying late, coming early, doing all that I
could to make
it work. And it just wasn't recognized. It was recognized more as being somehow antagonistic.
Wow.
And the harder I tried. So this happens, right, with people. They ended up hiring for this position, which I tell this story too. They ended up hiring for this position. And it did come around, and when they hired the person, I actually had to go and sit in on the interviews.
Wow.
And
that's
so
humiliating.
It's humiliating. And then they hired someone with a bachelor's degree. They didn't even hire anyone with a master's degree.
So they put the cheese out there, told you to do A, B, C, and D, and in the end, you didn't even need a master's degree.
Right. It was just in front of me. And of course, the person who was hired was not black.
Yeah, welcome to the American work environment where things are not fair, people are not treated fairly, and anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
The other thing is that, within these psychological games, right, because they're, playing chess and we're playing checkers, we're thinking, oh, this is ABC. This is like connect the dots. You say I need a master's degree. Okay, so that's connect 1. I get the master's degree. That's connect 2. You're just thinking you're just gonna drop till you get 4.
Yay.
No,
doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way. In other situations, people really just don't want you to get the promotion for whatever reason, because they don't want to see you move. They don't want to see you leave. They don't want to see you. You're their hard worker.
You're the one that they call on.
Right, the one they rely on. And so
they never reward, never give the accolades or the promotions to. But they need you.
Right.
You're valued. We need you. But we're not going to promote you or give you anything to help you become a better person.
Right, or to take those skills somewhere else.
Yeah. So I can say, I had the same type of situation when I worked in corporate America. I was applying for this position and had all of the credentials and everything, and was already actually doing the job each and every day. And everybody knew I was doing the job. People in other departments knew I was doing the job. But then once it came down to hiring somebody, they went outside and hired somebody else and brought somebody else in. I was shocked.
Everybody was
My
shocked.
coworker was shocked. And I'm like, well, what in the world? So I'm like, I'm chasing the cheese here too. But it wasn't meant for me to get the cheese. They dangled everything in front of me. I was doing the work. You were valued as an employee. They call you at home and ask you to do stuff. You do it just to be part of the team. But when it came down to them stepping up, doing what they needed to do to show their appreciation, it didn't happen. And the worst part about it is once they hired the person, they expected me to train the person, to walk them through the ropes, to show them everything that needed to be done. To make them better. Mm-hmm. But I just couldn't do it. I think that's when I quit that job, because it's like, I can't do it. It was too much stress. It was too much strain. It's like, I've given you everything. I've sacrificed my time. I've lost time from my family. I've given up my freedom. What else do you want me to do to show you that I'm committed to this? So there was nothing left for me to give. And
the sad part about it is when they do that, people often have a lot of self-esteem around that, because it's like, well, what did I do? Or what? And it's like, it's nothing you did.
You didn't do anything wrong.
You didn't do anything wrong.
Nothing at all.
No, because really when that person, and you have all the skills, you have all the expertise,
you're there.
You have all the business and professional acumen, you have the management skills, superior management skills. And then you know this because when something goes wrong, the person that they hired and you train, the first thing that they do,
they're looking for you.
Right, after they do what you told them not to do. After they go and mess everything up and you told them how to do, right, they come up with this idea and production is all messed up, and then now they don't follow your, they don't follow your lead because, of course, you don't know what you're doing.
Because I'm over you.
Right, I'm over you.
I got the job and you didn't. If you got the job, quit talking to me.
Right.
Do the job.
Right, do the job. So then they come back to you, right? And they want you to fix it or help them fix it or help the way, help to figure it out. I think even in that position, because I remember it well, I think even it shocked the CEO because long before all of this was going on, the CEO was coming to you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And because you were a star.
Yeah, at that division, the president of that division had gotten wind of the work that we were doing over there. And,
that you did. See how selfish you are?
Yeah, the work that I was doing. And he would come down and talk to me. And that just really started a lot of people. Like, why is he talking to him? Because your work, if you do good work, your work shines. People will speak and they will recognize it. But it's just certain people will try to block that. Will try to stop that and stop you from advancing because, like you said, they want you to stay in your little corner because you're their crutch, you're their shield, you're the thing that they rely on. But that's just not fair to you as an employee to be the one that they always fall back on because you deserve more. You deserve
more. And it's all of these psychological games, then you get into stress, you get into, it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of anxiety, so you have a lot of anxiety going to work and should I, what's she going to do today? You have all this passive
already stressed out before you get there.
Passive aggressive behavior. My boss used to, she knew I was coming from Collierville and knew that
it's a long commute.
It's a long commute, and I would
traffic and everything. Yeah,
about 10 hours late every
10 minutes to 20 minutes late.
Right, every day.
Yeah.
But she knew where I was coming from. She knew the commute, and she would stand at her door and wait. Now I know in your mind you're saying, "Oh, well, you were late every day." Well, okay. She stood outside the door and she talked to me one day and she said, "Well, I realized." All of the Collierville people, this is the suburb we were living in at the time, all of the, you suburban people, Collierville, Germantown, you all come here and get here at the same exact time.
Because we're in the same traffic.
We're in the same traffic. And it didn't matter what time you left.
You're going to be in the same traffic.
At the end of the day, I mean, you guys who are maybe listening from Accra, from, in Ghana, or you're in Nigeria, or you're in other countries, or maybe you're in New York or rush hour, you Lagos, commuting. Right? If you're in Lagos or even San Francisco, you understand understand exactly what I'm saying about these terrible, horrible commutes. And so
it's hard.
Which is, goes into your lack of work-life balance and lack of quality time because you got all this commuting that you got to do. It's difficult, and so people are playing these mind games with you, right? They're playing these mind games. They're watching every little thing. Although they would go and take 2-hour lunch breaks to go golfing and do all these other things.
What they want to do.
Right, but you're trying to, be in this massive rat race and rush to try to get to work on time. It's just not valued.
And that's one thing that used to irk me when I used to work in the corporate America is you work these extra hours, you put in this extra time, but the one day that you're 5 minutes late, you get the lecture of your life. Mm-hmm. Well, you need to be on time, blase, blase, blase. And you give them that look like, are you seriously talking to me? I put in 12, 13 hours a day, and you're going to say something to me about 5 minutes? That lets you know these are all psychological games, like you said, and you're really not valued. You're just a number. You're a number. And if you're not sitting in your little office, and when I look up, I can click the button that says number 7 is here, then that's a problem. So, right. I mean, I think companies, like you say, play too many psychological games with people's emotions, their heartstrings, and everything. And that's why a lot of people get sick at work. A lot of people are getting more sick and having heart attacks, like you said, strokes, and just serious health issues because of the stress and toxic work environments. This rat race is really, it's almost like, do I even want the cheese?
Right.
Because the cheese might choke me out once I get it. So
it's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. And you're working your hardest trying to do your best. You're
doing everything you can, yeah.
And that's what I mean, this personal flexibility and freedom, because if I had the option for the work that I was doing, the writing that I was doing, I had files that were either digital or could have been, which I did download a lot of things, and could be printed off. And so those are things that I could take home. So on those, rather than putting me in a huge commute and even having all of this traffic that's going on, allow people to telecommute or allow people to work from home.
That's good. Half here, half there. That's I think that's it's wonderful, because it helps one to relieve some of the stress, and it helps people to have that work-life balance, like you said. But a lot of companies, for some reason, you got to be in the office. I don't have to be in the office. It's not like I'm going to see anybody but you once I get there. And everything I do, I can do on the phone, I can do on the computer, I can Zoom, I can Skype, whatever. Technology is so advanced now, you can take an iPhone and run the whole meeting. But I think companies just are selfish, and people who work for these companies have become so selfish that it's their company.
There you go.
This is my company, so you have to abide by what I said and the standards I set. In order to get this dangling cheese, you got to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And like you said, once you do it, it's just a game.
It's a maze.
Like a mouse on a maze trying to find the cheese.
There you
go. You can't find it.
And there's a trap at the end. So
there's a trap at the end once you get there.
It's a trap.
That's really sad. That's really sad.
Well, we've decided to go in a different direction. We've decided to go. You put in 5 years, but you were taking me, I think 2 or 3 years to complete that degree.
The master's, yeah.
Right. And so this was a long-term process with, different pay raises and different promotions, along the way to get to the place that I was trying to go. But, it just did not happen. And it's very sad because they really lost a good employee.
Yeah, they did. All right, so we've gotten a lot of great information out of the things that contribute to the rat race. We've done the first 6. Now we're getting ready to come to number 7. So let me do a quick recap right quick. So number 1 was long work hours and work commitments. Number 2 was the lack of quality time to spend with family, spouse, friends, and loved ones. Number 3 was no personal freedom or freedom to choose to do the things they love and want to do. Number 4 is the inability to actually get the cheese. Number 5, the inability to build wealth, prosperity, and financial freedom and independence. And number 6 was the psychological games that are played by Negative Nancy and Broomhilda Bob at any corporation. So number 7 is the perpetual system in America, and especially in the West, of marketing and capitalism, which is buy, things. It's a distraction where you make your money, but you're constantly pouring it back into the system, and you never have any joy, pleasure, or happiness. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's this thing because you just never achieve true pleasure, joy, and real success. We invest in clothes, cars, and shoes for work, right? Or we're trying to look good for ourselves or for our neighbors or maybe even our co-workers.
Trying to keep up with Joneses sometimes.
There you go. And, it's just this constant. And so if you work in a corporate environment, you have to dress a certain way. If you work even in a warehouse, you have to invest in steel-toe boots.
There's a certain thing you have to wear and look, yeah.
And this costs money, right? You have to buy the overalls. It's not, maybe they supply you one, but after that,
it's on you.
It's on you. You're on your own. And so, even at fast food restaurants, you may get 3 shirts, 4 shirts, whatever, 2. It's just not enough. And so the rest of the time, you're really on your own. So it's constantly pouring back in the system. You have to, I was listening to someone who was being interviewed while I was at a fast food restaurant recently, and which I shouldn't have been there. I'm trying to really eat healthy, but
hey, it happens. It's life. It's life.
I was there.
It happens.
But and the person told him, well, you first day wear a black t-shirt and black pants, and make sure you wear a black belt. and make sure you have black socks and black gym shoes. And I thought, wow, this person does not have a job. We don't know when the last time it was that they worked.
Wow.
But now they got to go before they can even start.
And buy all of this stuff.
And feed the system.
Wow, ain't that something? You're already struggling. You
Right.
get a job.
Because you don't have one.
Then you get the job, and the job wants you to spend money before you can take the job.
You see what I'm
Instead
saying?
of giving you the things you need in order to do the job. To help them, to be honest with you, they'll still put you back in the hole because they want you to fit into this marketing and capitalism system where you just got to buy in order to get.
It's a scam.
Uh-oh.
And then...
They don't use the word scam today. It's a scam. Ding, ding, ding. Cheese, a scam to get the cheese.
Right, there you go. And then the more... It's a trap. And then the more we fight to get into the system, then you got to keep up the system while you're there. So
that's hard.
You have to, while you're there, you have to then keep buying the clothes and keep buying the shirt. You know, maybe they'll supply a shirt if you're at fast food. Maybe they'll supply shirts if you work at a certain factory, or you may have to wear the company shirt. So maybe they may supply so many per year. And then I know you work for a university, and they supplied so many per year. But after that, you had to purchase your own.
I remember when I took a job
at a seminary.
Well, not that one. I took a job at a company, and I worked 5 days a week, and they provided uniform, but they only gave you 3. And my first thought was, I work 5 days. What am I going to do with 3 uniforms? What am I supposed to do the other 2 days? So there it is again. You have to go in. You have to make sure you have a place to stay. You need to make sure you have access to a washer and dryer. Now, you just got a job.
Right.
So you may not have all these things, and you may not be able to do all these things. So what are you going to do if you don't have those things? You're going to wear that dirty uniform the rest of the week until you can get to the weekend and hopefully get a paycheck and go do something. Now think about the mental stress that puts on you, that you're going to work with unclean clothes and having to go in front of a lot of people to work.
And then you got negative Nancy's and Broomhill Bob.
I mean, that's just too emotional and too stressful for people to have to do. But this happens every single day in this society. People are being put in situations that's tearing them and breaking them down.
Right, and we don't think about the cost.
Yeah.
And, Broomhild, Bob and Nancy were waiting to look at your uniform and write you up.
Yeah.
So, and then it comes back up in your annual review. So you think, oh, they just spoke to you, gave you a warrant or whatever, and then in your annual review, and so instead of getting the coveted 30 cent, now you only get 15.
You get a whole 15 cent?
Maybe 10.
A dime? I've increased a dime?
There you go.
I'm going to be on Friday next week because I got a whole dime. I mean, it's just sad. I mean, you don't pay me enough to live. And then you give me a piece of raise I can't even buy a candy bar with. And then most people have families to feed. What are you supposed to do? You are the working poor because you cannot make it on the wages that people pay you. And then they want you to give so much back to a company. I mean, some companies have where you have to give so many hours back to a company in either community service or volunteer hours. And you're like, I give you 60 hours a week already. Now you want me to go somewhere and volunteer and do something else in the name of the company? That's a lot to ask people to do.
And I just learned something.
What you learned?
I just learned something. I did not even know this existed. But there was, I have this on good authority. There's this new program for nonprofits where if you work for a nonprofit, and I don't know this necessarily new. I'm sure companies have done this all the time, but they'll ask you, the employee, to then turn around and contribute back to the company.
Exactly.
As if my paycheck.
Yeah, there are a lot of companies that do that, and I know some companies where you have to give more than what they're giving you. They expect you to contribute over and above. Like you're outside bringing in so much money, but you work for them, so they know what you make, and then they want you to contribute back to them. I think that's just too much psychological and emotional stress to put on people who are already trying to make it. I mean, it's just too much. This rat race trying to get this cheese, so they give you a little crumb of cheese, But with all the stuff they ask you for, they want the crumb back.
They want the crumbs back.
They want the crumb back. So it's like you never get the cheese. This rat race just continues and continues and continues, and you never get the cheese.
Right, you have to have the shoes. You have to look a certain way.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to have a perm when I was at work. I mean, you just have to look like
into the environment.
The system. And this costs money. Clothes cost money.
Yes, it does.
I eventually learned how to thrift, which, you know, I was always kind of a clearance shopper and always savvy with shopping, but still. You had to, you know, sometimes you just want to be able to go in the store, and that's the mindset, and just buy what you want. You got to have if everybody's wearing Coach and everybody's doing Dooney and Burke, you know, you need the red bottoms for shoes for the corporate meeting. You got to
get you some red bottoms.
Yeah, you got to have the power suits. You got to have all those things, right?
Things.
Buy. So you're putting back into the right system. And we work for a company. And they were so slick. They actually had a really nice cafeteria downstairs where they would sell the breakfast and the lunch. And you could actually, for the lunch, they would even sell pre-made meals that you could take home for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, you know, when I look back now, it was a great thing. It seemed like it was really, really great. But you were just stuck at the office. I mean, it was for those corporate, you know, people worked in the corporate environment who they were working those long 18, 16-hour days. And so you just get all your meals there. And if the office was going to close at 5, you just went at, you know, 2 or 3 and got your meal. Yeah, you got your lunch, you got your breakfast, you got your meals.
You had it.
Right, you never left off site. And that meant you were always there, tied to the company.
Supporting
so they
the
could
company.
reach you. They could reach you. You were right there. If they need to run downstairs and get you or run in your office because you were eating at your desk, that's what it was. But there you are buying and pouring your money
right back into
You're
the
not
company.
supporting local businesses. You're not supporting, you know, black businesses in the area. You're not doing any of those things. You're putting your money back into
that company.
Into the company.
The company that won't allow you to catch the cheese.
Right.
That will put all these barriers and things in front of you to stop you from advancing, stop you from excelling and climbing that corporate ladder, to become better, to make more money for your family, to provide a better living for your family, to help your community, to give back to those who are less fortunate. They're not going to put you in a situation where you can do that. That's why you have to make these choices for yourself. You have to learn how to invest in you. Invest in yourself. You build the wealth, the financial freedom that you have. And if it's leaving that, like you said, escaping this rat race, then you need to figure out how to escape this rat race. You may run in there, but then you find a way to get out. You find a way to get out to go help you, to help your family, to help your community, and to do the things that you need to do to better you. So let's wrap this up with this. I think this has been some great information. Escaping the rat race is something that people really need to pay attention to, because we get so caught up in this system that we feel like we're worker bees, and we must perform. If we don't, we're going to get fired. Then we can't live. You're already struggling. You're already going through it now. So why not do something for you? So can you kind of just wrap this up for us and tell us what you want us to really get out of escaping the rat race?
Yeah, for me, really think about what you're doing and have a plan. Milton and I have, we did a video together on my YouTube channel where we talked about planning, right? And we also did vision boards where you set a vision board for your life. Milton participated with me in our collab, and where you can check out that vision board, creating a digital vision board for your life and for your family. You can check out those videos. I have one on my channel. He has one on his channel as well. And so I think you just really need to really think about what you're doing, where you're spending your money, where you're spending your time, and is your life really looking the way that you want it to look in 5 years? Are you going to be where you want to be and do the things that you want to do? We spend a lot of time in this American nightmare, American system, where we are buying the homes, we're moving out to the suburbs, we're doing all the things, we're buying all the things, buying the cars, and nobody can see the car when you drive by except the people on the outside, right? And so, so we're doing all of the things, and so it's time that we really start thinking about what really brings us joy, what really brings us pleasure, and stop feeding this system that we're in. It's almost like a plantation, right? And to an extent, we are slaves to it, to this system, and we don't even realize it because we don't have personal freedom. You got to go ask your boss if you can get off, when you can get off. And so this kind of sounds a little like when you start thinking about it, and you start thinking about 1860s and the 1500s, you start thinking about, this is a lot like slavery. So I think the first thing is just to really think. And I know you talk a lot about mindset on your channel. So I think this is a great place to start with your podcast for people to really begin crafting the life that they desire, that they really, really want, and then decide that they are going to choose something different, choose something better for themselves and their families. And they're going to go where they're celebrated and not just where they're tolerated.
Synolve, thank you. I hope everybody today, you'll take time to listen to this podcast. Go back again and listen to it again. Go to Synolve's YouTube channel and watch the video where she talks about escaping the rat race. There's a lot of great information that you need to hear. There's some things that you may need to look at to apply them to your life, to help you make the decisions and the changes that you need to get your exodus strategy in place. So tell us how we can reach you in some of the social media handles in order to connect with you.
Well, I'm Synolve everywhere.
Okay.
Synolve. So I'm Synolve on Facebook, on Instagram, Meta, and on Twitter, and on TikTok as well, which I love TikTok. And one of my favorite places to be and hang out is on YouTube. So I am Synolve on YouTube as well.
Synolve, thank you again for being here today with us here at Man on a Mission.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all today for joining me here at Man on a Mission. So glad you were able to stop by. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. Be sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, and check me out on YouTube to learn more about what's going on with Milton Craft, Man on a Mission. Have a great day and see you on the next episode.